Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Katie Farinas. And I'm so happy she said yes. Wow! She's streaming from New Jersey, and I'm here in Germany. So, how are you doing today, Katie?
I am doing wonderfully. It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. And it's a beautiful day here. It looks like a beautiful day where you are as well. So grateful for that as well.
So amazing. And I want to introduce you to the audience, of course. You are a podcaster as well, a coach and mom on a mission to help women step into their authenticity, discover their soul's purpose, and live a life that feels in alignment with their deepest desires so they can be their most impactful versions of themselves, release anxiety, feel joy, and serve the world with their unique blend of talents, passions, knowledge, and personality traits. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your knowledge. I want to know, how do you do this, finding the purpose for yourself and for other women?
Yes. I am also a yoga teacher, and I don't know if that was mentioned in the intro, and I may not have even mentioned that to you, but I am also a yoga teacher. And in yoga, there is a concept called Dharma, and Dharma is your soul's purpose. It's your essence. It's your really reason for being here in this world. It's the things that you're naturally drawn to. It's the things that you tend to also naturally be good at. And it can be expressed in a lot of different ways. So your dharma is your soul's purpose or your essence, but you can express that essence in many, many different ways. So what I help women do is discover their essence, because, and I could also use the word uncover their essence, because we come here with this dharma, right? With this fire inside of us already, but life tends to cover it up, right? We get told we're wrong for being the way we are or wanting to do the things that we do. There are just certain cultural expectations that influence us, our parents, our teachers. There are just so many things that layer on top of that essence or that dharma that most women, and I find particularly mothers, because motherhood is a huge layer, get to a point where they feel like, what am I doing? What is life really all about? Why am I here? Why have I achieved all these things, checked all these boxes that I thought were so important, like finding a career, making decent money, getting a partner, having a child, buying a home, check, 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 check. And with each one of these checks, I thought I would find fulfillment. I thought I would find peace, joy, ease. I thought I would find wholeness. I thought I would feel like it's finally enough. And yet here I am, having checked all the boxes, and I still feel this emptiness, like something's missing, unfulfilled, even though you may love your partner and love your children and even really love or like your job or whatever the case may be. You're so grateful to have all these things in your life, but there's just this nagging feeling that there's something else that's missing. And usually what that is for a lot of people is they're not living into their dharma. They're not living into their soul's purpose for being here. So whenever we are off of the path of our dharma, that's how we feel. We feel this nagging, unfulfilled, kind of aimless, purposeless feeling. We can also feel really anxious. It can lead us to having a lot of anxiety. And it can lead to us trying to numb out, right? It's because we have that sensation, we have that inner feeling, but we don't know what it is and we don't know what to do with it. And so we try to just avoid it. And we might maybe drink a little too much wine or binge watch Netflix or get like over involved in an activity that we may like, but we take it to an extreme that actually becomes unhealthy. There's many ways, scrolling on our phone and social media, there's many ways that we numb out because we have this underlying churning that's going on and we just don't know what to do about it. And so I help those people who are feeling like that uncover their soul's purpose and figure out how to integrate it into their life. Because there's one way of just, okay, this is my soul's purpose, but now what, right? Because I've got a really busy, complicated life, and I can't just drop everything and say I'm going to quit my job and not be a parent and sell my house and like live my dharma, right? And so I help people to discover what it is, but then make sure that they can find really applicable ways of expressing it in their life.
Wow, I love how you explained it, and also the use of the word uncover, because you explained that it was covered by, yeah, you mentioned Netflix, social media, and wine.
Yeah.
It's but also with taking identities that we maybe are not or not entirely when we identify with the mother role, but we are not. This is not all that we are, right?
Right.
And yeah,
Right.
sometimes we identify with that. So uncover, yeah, you told it. You said uncover. You help women to uncover. And when did you? No, yeah, when did you find your dharma?
So it was a long journey for me, which is why I am so passionate about helping other people to do it. So I would say I really uncovered mine in the past few years. But it was what happens with Dharma, what we realize once we uncover it, once we realize what it is for us. And I just want to clarify that, I said in the beginning that there are many ways to express it, right? So there's just not one thing that is your Dharma. Your Dharma is kind of an overarching way of being in the world that, like I said, can be expressed in different ways. So for example, my dharma is, and you can have like several ways of like connecting your dharma. So I am a teacher, that is my dharma, but I also have a very like nurturing and caregiving qualities to that for me. And so what will happen is when someone starts uncovering their dharma, they'll look back over their life and they'll see how these things showed up at different places in their life. And they weren't calling it their soul's purpose. They certainly weren't calling it their dharma, but they're recognizing that they kept being drawn to certain things. And when they did those things, they felt the most fulfilled, the most lit up, the most alive, right? So I was a teacher. I was a high school teacher, right? I was drawn to that. I am a nurse still. There's a lot of teaching that goes on in nursing, and it's one of my favorite parts of the nursing profession. I am a yoga teacher, right? So the teaching kept showing up even in childhood. I loved school. I loved school and I loved my teachers, right? I loved connecting with my teachers. I loved being taught by my teachers. I was fascinated by them. So teaching has been a theme that's shown up in my life constantly in my role as mother. My favorite part of the motherhood role is teaching my children, whether it be teaching them, the importance of healthy nutrition and, healthy sleep habits and stress management, teaching them how to manage social situations, teaching them how to recognize what's going on emotionally inside of them and dealing with that. Like any aspect of mothering that requires me to teach my children is my zone of genius. It's where I light up. I feel the most passionate and engaged. It comes easily to me. So I hope that clarifies what I mean when I say that you can express it in many different ways. It's the key is recognizing what it is for you, so you can then insert it into your life in as many ways as possible. Because usually when you're in Dharma, you're in flow. And flow is the most magical feeling there is, right? Time passes without us even knowing it. We just feel at ease. We feel that we are really doing what we are meant to do. And that is a really amazing feeling. So the more time we can spend in flow, the better we will feel overall in our lives.
Oh, that's so true. Thank you for sharing. And I understand that it is about the feeling, again, the feeling of fulfillment. And also it can be expressed in different activities. You told me about teaching in different environments or to different people, like your kids or in your nursing profession. I don't know if you call it that way. Yeah, okay. Let's go to the next question. And this is, who inspires you? So do you have coaches and mentors for yourself? And who was the best coach you ever had?
Ooh, that is a tough question. So yes, I do get a lot of my inspiration from spiritual teachers. So I am a 200-hour certified yoga teacher. I am on the path of becoming the 300-hour certified teacher. So a lot of reading, a lot of books from spiritual teachers who have come up over the years, and older spiritual teachers like Ram Dass and Thich Nhat Hanh and Rumi, to like more current modern spiritual teachers like Martha Beck and Gabby Bernstein. And I know I'm forgetting people, Kathy Heller. But also, I have been coached. I have also had coaches who have been integral in my development. But I would say even my yoga teachers through the years, listening to their Dharma talks, there are little piece in the beginning of a yoga class where they give you a little bit of wisdom to chew on. Those were really impactful. Meditation has been a huge teacher for me. My own internal guide, my own internal wisdom, which when I was really living out of alignment and outside of my Dharma, I really had a hard time accessing that. And the more I've come into alignment, the more I can hear my inner wisdom, which to me is my connection to source or God. So I feel like I've drawn inspiration from so many places in my life. It's hard for me to pick one.
Oh, I love that so much, because when I started the podcast, or just before that, I did not know the answer to that question, what inspires you? And then all of a sudden the podcast came up, and this is what really inspires me to do. So thank you so much for
Of
being
course.
here with me and having this interview. My next question is, how do you inspire other people?
Well, I hope my podcast is an inspiration to people. My podcast is called Mom on the Verge, and I started it at a time when I was really struggling in motherhood, and I really wanted connection with other mothers. And so that we could talk about our journeys and we could have like really raw and open, heartfelt conversations. And that's what it is. And I love it as well. As you said, you mentioned you love your podcast. I love my podcast. And so I hope that that's inspiring people. I also have a blog on my website. So I'm hoping that's inspirational to people. And then as a coach, as a Dharma coach, I am very hopeful that I inspire people to live a life that feels really good to them.
Oh, yes, you inspire me already, and I'm sure all the listeners right now, and I have to listen to this episode, to the replay, because there were so many nuggets. And please, people, reach out to Katie. She's amazing. We have the links in the show notes, of course, and we will check out the podcast and the website. So my next question is a little bit tricky. I could say, because so the question is, what are your gifts and talents? And that leads us to, because we talked about Dharma, I was not so familiar with the expression. I knew about, yeah, there's a thing called Dharma, but I would not have been able to or give a definition until
Yeah.
now. You explained it in the beginning. So what would you say, what are your gifts and talents, and what is the difference between Dharma and that?
Okay, so I'll start with one piece about the Dharma that we didn't talk about. So, just for ease, a lot of times when I'm on a podcast interview or something that's a little shorter form, I use soul purpose. But Dharma incorporates a little bit more than that, because in the yogic philosophy, we are all part of the one, right? So you and I are really the same, but we are just in separate physical bodies. But we are very intimately and energetically connected and from the same source. And so that's what yoga believes. So when we are living our soul's purpose, we are the most impactful, we're the most effectual. The energetic frequency that we bring to our lives is very high. And so it's amazing for us, right? It feels great to live like that, but it also deeply impacts not only the people in your world that you touch, but people that you may never actually ever meet in person or have a conversation with, right? So the people listening to my podcast or your podcast, somebody that I coach who steps into their Dharma beautifully and then decides to do something really impactful with it, right? Then my energetic impacted them, and now they are impacting the rest of the world. So Dharma is about, yes, living into your soul's purpose. for yourself, a Dharma, actually, one of the definitions of Dharma is sacred duty to self. But one of the other definitions of Dharma is the evolutionary expansion of the universe. So I say when we step into our duty, our sacred duty to ourself, that we are contributing to the evolutionary impact of the universe. So it's not just for us, it's for everyone. It's to elevate the consciousness. It's to make our world a better place. So that is like a broader definition of Dharma. My skills and talents, I think that I am a good teacher. I think I break things down for people in really complex topics like Dharma into smaller packages that are more digestible, that people can use in their everyday life, right? So when we're talking about yoga philosophy, we're talking about philosophy that was written thousands and thousands of years ago in a very different society than we currently live in different languages than we speak, and taking that very complex text and concepts and making them digestible for someone living now in this current society in a really busy life.
Yes. Wow, that was amazing. And I understood, or I understand it more now. Thank you so much for explaining. It's a whole new field. And I think for me, I use different vocabulary for the same thing, I would say,
Yeah.
but I will learn a little bit more about it to implement it in my
Yeah.
language and in my knowledge as well. Thank you so much for
Yes.
opening this topic. And I have another question, of course,
Of course.
because I'm all about, goal setting and achieving. It's the masculine energy or masculine side, like strategies. I learned from Bob Proctor and Napoleon Hill. So my question to you is, do you set goals for yourself or intentions? And what is one of your goals for 2024?
Okay, so I love this question. So I think that yes, I try to balance the masculine and the feminine in myself. I tend towards more of the feminine and less the masculine. Just that's kind of my natural constitution. So doing things like setting goals per se, is something that I do, but I do loosely. So mostly what I do is envision what I want to see in my life. So I have a vision for what I want to show up in my life, how I want to feel in my life, what I want to be doing in my life. And then I choose to take steps every day toward achieving that vision. So so here's an example. So I keep I meditate every morning. So I'm also a meditation facilitator and a breathwork facilitator, which I use in my coaching. I use meditation and breathwork. But I meditate every morning, and then I keep a small stack of cards next to my bedside with my intentions for 2024. And my intentions are things like, grow my intuition, internal knowing, and wisdom. Manifest a life where I am fulfilling my Dharma and financially sustaining my family. Surrendering to God's plan and what the universe has in store for me. Loving and accepting myself exactly the way I am. So these are my intentions for 2024. I wouldn't call them goals, but I take steps every day to manifest these intentions. Does that make sense? Does that
Absolutely.
answer your question? Okay.
Yes, you said you would not. So maybe an additional question for you. Do you have projects, or what is one of your projects for not only this year, maybe the next year?
So this year, I'm running a lot of workshops on
Mhm.
uncovering your Dharma. And I would say I have a 3-year manifesto. So this year, for the next 3 years, I just want to grow my coaching business, my one-on-one coaching business to a certain point. And then at that point, I want to switch over to doing entirely group courses. And then at some point, I want to move towards retreats. So that's kind of my That's kind of my plan. So right now I'm doing a lot of workshops in order to expand my one-on-one coaching, and learn from my one-on-one coaching to create a course. So I'm also in the process of creating the course, but I'm using what I'm learning now to fuel my course. And then I think sometime in the future there'll be an app as well, but that's even further down the line.
Oh, I love that so much what you said. So you have a sort or kind of strategy, like time frames or something like that. And I see the greater picture. Thank you so much for sharing. And I have a last question for you. And it is, when people reach out to you after listening to this episode, do you have special offers and services for the inspired podcast community?
Oh, well, that is a great question. So I'll tell you what, if someone reaches out to me, have them let me know that they heard of me on the podcast, and I will give them a coupon code for either one-on-one coaching, one of my workshops, or I also have something called Voxer coaching. I'm not sure if you know what Voxer is, but it's like a walkie-talkie app. And some people feel they can't commit to the one-on-one coaching for reasons of their personal life and time. So we Voxer through this walkie-talkie. I coach through this walkie-talkie app called Voxer. So I will give them a coupon code for one of those.
Oh, thank you so much. This is very generous. Please reach out to Katie. She's amazing. Or to me, I will connect you, of course. We are connected already. And now is the time for your last message to the audience.
My last message would be to never stop the self-discovery train, right? To never stop being curious about what's going on inside of you and how you can make your life better, to feel better, to have more positive impact in the world, to live with more ease and freedom. Never stop trying to discover what the root of each and every question you have is, every feeling that you have, every curiosity, to just follow where your mind and body take you, and don't cover it up with those things that we talked about. Really dive deep.
Oh, thank you so much. This was marvelous. I will listen to this episode. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Caroline. You have a great day too.
Thank you and see you in the next episode.